Donald Trump touring flood-ravaged areas in Louisiana while President Obama is enjoying his time off playing golf. Louisiana's largest daily newspaper even blasting the president, saying, "Vacation or not, a hurting Louisiana needs you now, Mr. President." Oh, Governor Mike Huckabee is sending an open letter to Mr. Trump, writing, and I quote, "Maybe if it rains in Martha's Vineyard and you have to cancel a golf game, you might fire up old Air Force One and venture down to check on my friends in Louisiana. Louisiana needs you right now, not because you can personally fix it, but because you showing up means a lot of resources will show up, as will the cameras, to help the nation see how bad it is." You know, here's the thing. Back in 2008, when Mr. Obama was running for president, he blasted President George W. Bush for not visiting New Orleans quickly enough following Hurricane Katrina. Listen to this.
When the people of New Orleans and the Gulf Coast extended their hand for help, help was not there. We can talk about levees that couldn't hold, about a FEMA that seemed not just incompetent, but paralyzed and powerless, about a president who only saw the people from the window of an airplane instead of down here on the ground, trying to provide comfort and aid.
Okay, fine. So now that you're the president, Mr. Obama, why aren't you cutting your vacation short and listening and visiting the people of Louisiana? Joining me right now, the former FEMA director under George W. Bush, Michael Brown. Mr. Brown, welcome.
Hi, Trish.
All right. By not showing up in Louisiana this week, is the president, President Obama, in your view, a hypocrite?
Well, of course it's hypocritical, but let's compare and contrast a few things. First, I wanted President Bush to land in Baton Rouge, not in New Orleans, because things were not working in Louisiana during Hurricane Katrina. And I needed President Bush to land to send a signal not just to the American people, but more importantly to his cabinet, that they needed all hands on deck to help Michael Brown in New Orleans. So that's one reason why we needed Bush to land in Baton Rouge. I think we need to step back from the politics of this situation and say a couple of things I don't hear anybody saying. First, you can't compare this disaster, even though this disaster is indeed horrible. You can't compare it to what was going on in Katrina. 1,800 people died in Katrina. There were more than 60,000 rescues. In this one, 8 people have died, and that's tragic. They've had to rescue 20,000 people. But here's the problem. The problem is the optics. The President of the United States, even though things were going well in Louisiana, things worked in Louisiana this time as opposed to Katrina. The President's optics of golfing and not even doing a press conference, not even saying, look to the American people and to the people of Louisiana, I'm sending my FEMA director down there. You're doing a great job. The optics of staying on the golf course is the problem.
Is he tone deaf? Does he just not care?
Yeah, of course he's tone deaf. I think he's been tone deaf for 8 years when it comes to these things. But there's also another issue, and don't take this personally, Trish, but I think sometimes the media is tone deaf also. We have wildfires in California. Do you know that in San Bernardino we've had, in the last couple of days, 80,000 people who have had to evacuate their homes? Yeah, so at some point we have to, at some point we have to realize that the president isn't necessarily helpful when they land in a disaster zone. A president is helpful when they have a press conference and say to their cabinet, when they say to the federal government, all hands on deck, do everything that you need to do, and speak directly to the people in those disaster areas. I think that's where Obama is tone deaf.
Well, playing golf on Martha's Vineyard. I mean, you think about, he's done this before. I think about when poor James Foley was executed at the hands of ISIS. He was out there playing golf. There have been many cases, actually, where pretty significant things have happened. And he doesn't need to recognize it. I mean, even think about, some of the tragedies we've seen around the world, and what he was down in Cuba at one point and doing the wave there in a baseball stadium.
See, I think here's what the American people intuitively understand, is that the words of a president are heard all around the world, not just in the United States, but everywhere. And so I think the president in this case and in all the cases you just recited is tone deaf. It doesn't mean jump on Air Force One and go to every disaster. It means that you need to speak to the American people. You need to speak to people. You sometimes need to get off the golf course when bad things are happening, so you don't have the two windows of somebody golfing while people are being rescued from rooftops. That's the problem.
The reality is it's a big job, and you better be ready for it, and it means interrupting the vacation now and then. Michael Brown, thank you so much.